And hello everyone. Glad to see some of you here. Sorry for late notice because I was, to be honest, I was not really sure that I will be able to provide it today, but here we are. And once again, glad to see you here. But first, let's begin with a quick check like sound, video quality, etc. You can put pluses on my. Okay, I can see one plus already. Thank you. But I was going to write down some message. Okay. Sorry for my voice, but I think you still can understand me. Good. Okay, so just as always, a quick reminder that I'm not looking at your questions in YouTube chat. So please, very kind ask from my side to leave your questions in live streaming channel. So let's begin. What we are going to do today, we are going to review your previous assignment, CRUD API with Fastify, and discuss your next assignment. And probably I will show you working demo. How is it expected to work? Okay, what you had to do during previous week, you had to implement simple CRUD API for products database for product catalog, and you had to implement it using Fastify as lightweight web framework. So few simple endpoints: get single product, get all products, get single product, create new product, update new product fully, delete product, and you see what is your data model contract here. Request to non-existing endpoints should be handled with not found status code. If any error occurs on the server side, you had to gracefully handle it and not crash server and answer with internal server error status code. Store port in .env, write some API tests, implement two modes of running application: development mode with hot reload and production mode with building application and running code, running application from build. And also horizontal scaling for application, most difficult part. You had to implement specific npm script which runs a certain amount of workers depending on available parallelism and available logical cores for on your machine. And most important, you had to implement shared database across all those workers, and we will take a look how student implemented it. Okay, let's probably start then. Today we have solution for review. I already tried to start it and tested it somehow. But firstly, important reminder for you during cross-check, please create .env file from .env example file, because .env should be never committed. And npm run dev, start dev, and it should work. One small advice, please don't use Russian in console messages, because it's kind of agreement in about text. It should be in English by default, not in any other languages. Please follow this practice. Okay, so what do we have here? We have entry point, which is index.js. It's okay that we have it, but this is like default entry point, default module, but we don't really use it. Our entry point is function main.ts or main.js in build, because of course in build we transform our TypeScript code to JavaScript. And Let's see what do we have in main.ts. Once again, I tested this application. It works just fine, so we will not waste time on checking it, and no previously written comments now. We will do it online. Okay. So you can see that we have a function bootstrap here, which is asynchronous and which creates a new application. Then application is initiated. Here we declare callback for graceful shutdown, and close application and exit Node.js process. And also on receiving system signals that should close our application, we call this function as well. Okay, for now it looks fine from, I don't know, some kind of best practices and architectural point of view, because in entry point file we should have only something lightweight which is starting our application. We shouldn't put much logic here. So yeah, layers of abstractions are properly separated here, because function bootstrap is only responsible for starting application and for managing Node.js process, nothing else. Okay, looks good. Let's see what do we have in app.js. By the way, it's weird that you reference stuff by JS extension. Probably you misconfigured TypeScript somehow, because it should work without this stuff. So it should be something like this. Database. Let's take a look at. Not next. Yes, next. Wait, test. Why do we need React here? Okay, from first glance, I don't see what's the reason, but it definitely shouldn't be like that. In TypeScript, you should reference files as TypeScript files. Okay, so here we have a main class that represents our application. So it accepts few parameters from constructor. First of all, it's a storage service, which is set internally, and then we set Festify instance in our application. Okay, and we have AGV option. It helps us to validate inputs using AGV schema. And here we set port on which we are running our application, and then we set environment, which is Node.env or development by default. Not sure why we need it, but okay, fine. As far as I remember, there was no requirements about this. Okay, and we start our application by calling init method. So first of all, we register Swagger for OpenAPI stuff to test our application in browser. By the way, maybe we will do it and check how it works in line. Then we register some middlewares, and we add a hook on response, which handles our response stuff. This is necessary for login, because this hook is triggered during request lifecycle. When response is ready to be sent, then then this hook is triggered, and if you want some logic that should be performed before each response is sent, it's a good place where you should put it. So we have pre-built message for login invalid status code, and you can see that here we have separation of login level. So internal server errors are treated as errors from logger perspective. By the way, what is a logger actually? Logger. logger. Logger is used here. It's instantiated here. By the way, if you want to implement a dependency injection pattern, probably you could inject logger the same way as you injected storage servers. It would look a little bit cleaner. And okay, so we registered Swagger UI. We registered the hook for handling for login errors, and then we register our endpoint. And we can provide some necessary data there. So we assign product routes here, where we will have handlers for product routes. And then we set up error handler for different kind of errors. Okay. Let's see, what do we have in setup handlers? Setup not found handler. We just use default Fastify handler, which responds with human friendly message like route is not found, error handler, if validation in error. By the way, I'm not fully sure about this approach. Maybe we could use some kind of specific type of error. I mean, define which kind of error we are working with instead of checking for specific properties inside of our error. But okay, if you are sure that this validation property present in error only if this is a validation error, then it's fine. Okay, so if this is validation error, we respond with bad request status code. Otherwise, we respond with internal server error. And I have one concern about using magic values here. You can use library like oh, probably I prohibited you from using libraries, but okay, just in case, it's better not to use magic values anywhere, even for simple stuff like status codes. Okay, I'm pretty sure you know what status codes mean. I mean, okay, if it's 200, it's okay. If it's 404, it's not found. If 500, it's internal server error. But anyway, typos can happen, and TypeScript will not help you if you will provide wrong status code. I mean, maybe you misplayed something and you put 4,000 here instead of 400, and TypeScript doesn't complain because 400 is a number and 4,000 is a number, so it's better to define this stuff somewhere and reuse it from this single place. But okay, let's move next. So let's check how we use this. Okay, if this is not test environment, then we run our application on certain port. Otherwise, okay, server is running on. Let's do it this way. Otherwise, we just prepare our app for tests. Okay, good. So main magic happens when we assign product routes here. So let's take a look what product routes are. Product routes is some kind of Fastify middleware which accepts application instance and certain options. This is some kind of Fastify plugin. And here we assign handlers to different sub paths inside of our route. So I remind you that we assigned this plugin to API products. And here we assign specific handlers for routes inside of this one. So This slash refers us to API products. This slash with ID pass parameter refers us to slash API products and certain ID, and so on. So here student defined schema. This will be AGV schema, just usual JSON schema. So okay, products responses. We define properties and their types, validation error schema, details, properties, instance pass, schema pass. Okay, okay, okay. Example, not found schema. Okay. And we also defined Fastify schema for product itself, for validation, which is reasonable enough because you have many stuff out of the box in Fastify, and you can see that you can put some validation logic on library level, okay? For example, if you do not want your user to send negative prices or invalid kind of numbers, you can use options like this exclusive minimum. It means that you do not need to check for negative numbers, for example. And also you can see that some kind of fields are required, and presence of these fields will also be checked on library level. Okay, sorry, I just quickly switched to check whether we have some questions. Okay, so we register necessary handlers here. Get all products, find all, bind. Okay, so we bind controller methods to this registration. Good. And here we provided necessary responses for different cases. Okay, for now it looks good. And yes, please pay attention for no content status code, because anyway, in case of this status code, body is omitted. This is part of like HTTP responses from server handling specification. So this is a proper type here. Okay, let's check what do we have in product controller. This is our next layer. Sorry, let's dive into product controller. According to REST layer structure, REST principles, you should separate levels of layers of your application. So product controller, in our case, this is a controller layer. It's only responsible for handling request and sending response. It should not know anything about business logic, or at least it should know about business logic as least as possible. So it's not controller responsibility, it's service level responsibility, which should contain business logic of our application. Controller should be silly enough. It should accept request, validate it initially, I mean without logic of application. Okay, we have some kind of JSON schema that request to this endpoint should be of certain format, and you should then pass handling of request deeper to service level, and then you should get a response from server and answer with it to your request. That's what controller should do. And you can see that we are having here simple lightweight controller methods. For example, find all only passes API call to product service, and then response with OK status code and products. Find by ID works the same way, except the fact that we may not found the product, and in case if product is not found, we respond with not found status code, otherwise we respond with OK status code and found product. Create pretty same, only status code is different. By the way, probably if you are not setting status code, probably OK is default status code, but you should double check it. OK, pretty same here for all the methods. And once again, no concerns from my side. Looks clean and clear, and this is how controller layer should look like. I am satisfied. Probably, yeah, and the dependency injection pattern is implemented properly here as well, because everything this class needs, it accepts explicitly via constructor, not just imports from outside. Sorry. Okay. I think it's time to go deeper. Our controller sends requests for handling to product service. And product service is also thin here. It's not very fat, let's say. All it does, it passes requests to storage service. Probably this is fine. This is good. It may look like product service should contain logic about working with products database, because okay, all it does, it works simply as proxy. It does nothing. It does not have business logic here. But from architectural perspective and layer structure perspective, it's better to have a separated service layer, because with time you may have additional business logic here. Okay, you may want not only get data from your storage and send it back to client. Maybe you want to perform some additional API calls. I don't know. Maybe you want to notify some external systems in certain cases. Maybe you want to send some analytics here. And it should be done inside of product service. So it's totally okay that it only calls storage service and does nothing else. It's very, let's say, extendable. Okay, so main magic happens inside of storage service. Let's check what happens inside of storage service. Okay, we have separated interface. By the way, this is not the pattern that I recommend you on for naming of TypeScript interfaces, because some time ago it was widely used. I mean, prefix interface with I letter, and in some kind of programming languages, this is how we usually write code, and everyone does it, and they have reason for it. But from my point of view, it's not necessary in TypeScript, because, well, when I first of all, there is no many difference between types and interfaces for most cases. Okay, they have slightly different syntax, and types are a bit more powerful, and you can use implements with interface. But in general, I use it mostly the same. And okay, TypeScript and IDE highlights, sorry, not TypeScript, my IDE highlights to me that this is some kind of TypeScript type. I can see it because of color. If I'm curious what it exactly is, type or interface, I can just put my cursor here and I can see that this is interface. Okay, and maybe if I'd use some type, I don't know, my awesome type and used it here, I can see that it's a type, and this is interface. So from my point of view, this I letter doesn't provide additional useful information, so probably you don't need to use it. Okay, let's remove it. Just some advice on the fly. Okay, let's check storage service. We have two types of storage services, one for multiple mod and one for single mod. Anyway, IPC storage service, it works a little bit differently, and we will take a closer look at it later. So let's see how memory storage works. We have a collection of products represented by JavaScript array or TypeScript array in this case. So we perform simple JavaScript operation on this array. Okay, if we need all products, we just return our array. If we need to find specific product by ID, we use find method and find it by ID. Create method just pushes product to our storage. Why don't we have some validation here? Because it's done because we have AGV schema. And in case if something is not wrong, we will not accept invalid body and we will not push it to database. So this is how it works here. Okay, update, we find product by ID, object assign, product data. By the way, we need to check whether ID can be overwritten, because it seems that we should explicitly exclude ID, because if the user will provide it, then we may have overwritten ID here. Okay, delete, find index, if index is -1, product splice. Okay, splice is just fine here. Return true. Why do we need true or false? Is product deleted? Okay. Looks reasonable. We may have two kind of outcomes of trying to delete product. If it's not found, then we return false, and if not, product is not deleted, we'll respond to its not found status code. Okay, good. Let's check this. Let's check this moment on with overwriting of ID. Swagger lives on docs. Okay. Docs. Okay, let's try to create some product. Okay, execute. Product is created. And let's try to update whole product. And let's try to replace ID. Execute. Okay. And let's try to get all products now. Okay. Somehow ID was not overwritten. Let me check once again where it was excluded. Schema. update service update product service update. We simply pass it to storage service. Okay. Update. Probably it was removed on handling request because we didn't define it in schema. But if you didn't use Fastify schema for validation, if you have some custom logic, you should pay attention to this. My point is, it's better to specifically update necessary fields than just merge objects, whatever it is. In this case, it's fine because we explicitly defined necessary fields, but probably it would be safer do not count on a single point of responsibility. It's better to set only specific properties you need. It would be safer. Especially if you are working with some kind of, I don't know, external system which may add some fields without notifying you, and you may not want to write everything it sends to you inside of your database. Okay, small pause, just 1 second. Okay, sorry for delay, I'm back. So we checked how memory storage is implemented. So what is interesting here is that student defined abstract interface, which may be kind of IPC storage service or in-memory storage service. And in case of multiple mod, we use IPC storage service. In case of single mod, dev mod, we use this memory storage. Okay. This is very nice. This is why we need data models, and this is why we define interfaces. And you can see that two different classes, if they satisfy the same contract, they may be replaceable between each other. Okay, let's check other stuff like data transfer object. Okay, product DTO, name, description, price. How do we use it? DTO. Product DTO. Okay, interfaces, product interface. Logger. What is logger service? This is some kind of self-written logger which uses pure JavaScript for colorization of messages and formatting, and it looks pretty fine, I can say. You can see that okay, it's beautiful. Let's send a little bit more request, for example, with invalid UID. Oh, sorry. Swagger doesn't allow us. Okay, let's check that non-existing product is not found. And it should be logged properly with warn. Okay, and if we will try to throw some error inside of update method, for example, throw new error, something went wrong. Okay, let's try to send this request. Okay, we've got internal server error without exposing internal details, which is pretty good. By the way, you should not exclude ID from update response. Okay, it's fine to have it here. You should not allow to send it in body, or at least do not override it. But you can send it back. Usually when you update something, you may use ID of updated item. It's okay. It's overkill, which is not useful. And you can see that error is logged differently. Okay, very good. Logger service works as expected. Okay, let's check what about build. npm run build tsc. Okay, we just compile it using default TypeScript compiler. npm run build. You can see that we have a dist folder here with all JavaScript stuff. And let's check npm run start prod. Okay, we compile it, and then we check. We can see that it works the same way. Good, good. What about dev mode? We have TSX watch option, which is included in TSX library, and this performs hot reload for us when we check dependent files. For linter, we have biome, which is fine. You can use ESLint, you can use biome, it's up to you. For tests, we use white test. Okay. Good. By the way, plus for ytest, because this is more modern way to write tests. It's compatible with Jest, but it works better with ECMAScript modules. It has better support and it has compatible API, so migration is easy. So probably if you are curious what you should choose in new project, I would suggest ytest or even pure Node.js test runner. It's also fine for small and server focused projects. Okay, good. So let's check interesting part. What do we have in our cluster mode? Okay, we have script npm run start multi, and we have different entry point cluster.ts. What happens here? First of all, we perform some kind of business logic, sorry, not business logic, initial setup logic. We get workers count from available parallelism. We get port number from environment variable, and here IPC message is defined. Probably if you do not put everything in one file here, probably you should not put everything inside of one file. If you do not put everything inside of one file in main TS, probably you should do the same stuff for cluster. Just split it into more modules or put into other dedicated modules. Okay, so we know that primary cluster, which is main, which runs on main port, which is specified in .env, is our load balancer. So what it does, its responsibility to spawn workers, or maybe you could spawn workers out of it. It's not necessary to spawn workers inside of primary prods. You could put this logic here. So we spawn workers, worker instances of cluster in amount of workers count based on available parallelism, and on message from worker we get data from database. Base find index send result. But from what I can see, workers don't perform real job here. They're just message proxies. Let me check it. PC storage service. And or probably they're doing some job. Okay, got it. This is only sending requests, specific messages to workers, and Interesting. Okay, so data, from what I can see, data is requested by each worker from single database. But this database is simply okay. Interesting implementation. Okay, how it looked like in my head. I mean, proper implementation. You should have separated process which contains your database, or I don't know, maybe separated server with database, and and load balancer distributes requests across workers, and workers call this database service to get data from it, and all workers call the same database service and do not replicate it. Here we have pretty same stuff, but database is accepted via closure. Okay, I was not thinking about it, but we have a single database, and each worker requests data from it. Whole database is not sent on each request between workers, so good. Pretty same logic that we have inside of memory storage, but probably I would split it a bit differently, because you have here you have too many inline logic inside of cluster. Maybe you did not have time to properly separate it because it was last and most difficult part of assignment, but okay. This is definitely working, and I would say creative implementation. I didn't see something like this before. Okay, and we also handle event from worker. When worker is destroyed, then we log that the worker was disabled, and we restarted. Okay, and okay, this is a setup for load balancer. We use HTTP create server, of course, and here we have proxy for requests to correctly pass requests to workers. In else branch we have our worker code. What is run here when we call, sorry, account worker, when we fork our cluster. This logic happens inside of each worker. So we import app.js, we import IPC storage service, connect it to it, and then initiate. So you can see that this application class is very well designed. It works both with storage for workers, which proxies events, and it works well as with memory storage. PC storage service. I'm probably a little bit concerned that this IPC storage service doesn't have business logic, but we put it inside of cluster. But okay, anyway, it works. Okay, let's check our tests. Our tests live in here. Regarding unit tests, I suggest you to put your tests closer to code that it tests belongs to. For example, we have unit tests for product service. It's additional requirement. If I'm not mistaken, I was only talking about integration tests, but okay. The only suggestion from my side is to put it here. Product service. So you can see that you have product service TS and you have product service spec or test TS, and probably spec is mostly about integration or end-to-end tests, but up to you. This depends on code convention in your project. And you can already see that this file, it has test, these two do not have it. Okay, let's take a look at integration tests. You had to implement at least 3 scenarios. Okay, get API products, get product by ID. We test that to be honest, I'm not really sure that this is about end-to-end tests, because we are not this up ready. Because we are not running server on specific port, and I can see that we do not have sorry, we do not have real requests. So I understand that you can test stuff like this, but this is not about HTTP requests. This is about emulation of HTTP requests handling. So it would be better to run a real server and use some kind of, I don't know, maybe HTTP request from Node.js if you want to go roll, or stuff like super test, which sends real HTTP request. In general, logic here is correct. But first thing that I don't see test scenarios here. I mean, when you are working with the same product, you simply emulate HTTP responses. So this is not correct. And I was talking about why do I call it end-to-end test? Because you follow user path. For example, check that some product exists. If not, then create this product, update it, check that it's properly updated, try to delete it, check that it doesn't exist in our database anymore. So I would expect a super test here. Okay, probably this is it about this assignment. Interesting solution, but end-to-end tests are not really end-to-end. This is a problem. Okay, maybe you have some questions to it. You can ask in live streaming channel while I am looking for demo for you. Okay, I see no questions for now. You can ask them later in live streaming channel or in dedicated task channel. Let's move to your next assignment. Okay, your next assignment is WebSocket. you have to implement a backend for live quiz game. You have pre-implemented frontend, and how it looks like. Players log in into game, then you may have two roles, host or player. So as a host, you create game. You create a game by constructing questions, or you can import it, you can export it there. By the way, this requirement was excluded from your scope of implementation. This is already pre-implemented on front end. Then the server should generate random 6-character room code for the game. Then players can join the game if you logged in like a player. They can join the room using this code. Then host starts game, and players submit answers. We have a time limit, logic of score calculation, and I provided you with interfaces. And this is handled by some specific commands like register or login command. On front end, this is the same command, do not separate it. And create game, join game, update players, start game, submit answer, and so on. Question result, next question. So you have this diagram of sequence, and you have cases what should be answered to which player, because we have one kind of response to joining player, and we broadcast it to other players in the game by player joined type of WebSocket message. Okay, we have one question. How correctly name test files for unit integration and end-to-end tests? It depends on conventions on your project, but what I've seen, it's file name, tested file name dot test dot ts for unit tests, and spec.ts on the end for integration or end-to-end tests. Okay, so score was also reduced. I removed bot because it was a bit ambiguous how it should work. So what you get points for? If WebSocket server is implemented in and accepts connection is you will get plus 10 points, plus 16 points for reg event if it works correctly, and plus 16 points for create game, join game, start game, answer, and question result. If full game flow works end-to-end, you will need to test it manually if if host can create game and user can join it and start game, answer questions, and get game finished with all information. It's okay. Then you will get a full score for this point. If speed bonus is implemented correctly, I mean user should have decreasing points depend on how fast user answers to the question. Also, timer should not be front end. Timer should be on server side, because it will maintain consistency across different player, because maybe some player left page or was inactive or had other issues or degraded performance. Anyway, time should be the same for all quiz participants, which is obvious. And also disconnect should be handled correctly. Players should be removed from the game, update players should be broadcasted, and game continues for everyone else. Because this is what happens in real quiz. For example, if you play Kahoot with many players, we do not want a game to crash if someone is disconnected. Everyone else should continue. Okay, let me share with you my screen with demo. Probably we will have two screens here. This and this, because we need host and player screen. Oh my god, sorry. Okay, left side will be for the host, and right side will be for the player. Okay, let's name host admin with some password. It will be the host, and it will be cool player 9000 with its password. Okay, and we join game as a player. But first of all, we need to create our quiz. Let it consist from 5 questions. Question 1, option 1 is correct here. Let's add second question, question 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Option 2 is correct here, and so on. Question 4. And 4 options correct here, and in fifth question, first option will be correct once again. Okay, we can also export this stuff. I can show you how JSON looks like. Just in case you can redact this stuff manually. So we simply have text of question, array of options, and index of correct option. And also time limit, because it can be adjusted. Okay, so I guess I exported these questions so we can reuse it if we need it, and then we can create game. So server generated this room code, and let's try to join this game as player. Join game. Okay, we can see that there's one player. Maybe we can join 2 players. Okay, so we have 2 players here. So you can see that state is shared across different players. Everyone sees that we have 2 players, host and each of players. Okay, and let's start game. You can see that host screen is different. Host cannot answer questions, but users can. Okay, let's first player answer correctly, and second player answers incorrectly. Okay. Second question. Okay, first is incorrect, second is correct. You can see that points are decreased. Okay, I didn't implement a pause here, so we will just take a look at results. Both players were wrong. Okay, first player is answering correctly. You can see that the timer is stopped for this player, but it continue tick to other players. And despite the fact that I'm switching between tabs, they all have the same timer because it's centrally controlled. Okay. And last question. First option is correct, third option is incorrect. Okay, so you can see that our cool player has more points than player 2. You can return to main menu and start once again. This is how it should look like and should work. Maybe you have some questions about this assignment. Okay, we have a lot of questions here. Let's try to answer it. How should we evaluate task root API if student has database stored in file and when creating cluster many problems that would have been if database had been stored in memory disappeared? What should be total score if the rest is correct? Database stored in file and when creating cluster, many problems. I think this is a problem with cluster mode implementation. So if cluster works, add tab to new split view. Okay, I know. Thank you. Maybe if cluster works somehow, this looks like a partial implementation of multi-mode. Okay, what does handle duplicates name mean if registration and login are indistinguishable and any repetition of the name, in fact, interpreted not registration but attempt to login? I already told that login register is overkill. This is a single event, so you should not separate this stuff. Distinguishable handles duplicate names. Where do I left it? Handle duplicates names. Handle duplicates names. By the way, let's check whether I've implemented it myself. Maybe we can exclude it from criteria. Okay. Create game. Create game. Okay. Join as player. Back. Player 1. Join game and player 1. So this is how it looks like. Okay, I will exclude it to remove to resolve this misunderstanding, because I initially planned add registration flow and login flow, but then I decided that it's not important here, because we are not working with full user flow here. We are just working with WebSocket stuff. So probably I will just exclude it. Let me do it immediately. Handle duplicate names. Error on wrong password. Let's simplify it to login and proceed. Okay, thank you for highlighting. Just as always, I remind you that if you see any inconsistencies or unclear moments in assignment, it should be treated in favor of student. So if you decide whether you should deduct points, if you are not absolutely sure that this is according to the assignment and scoring, please do not do that. Can user login from two tabs at the same time with the same username and password? Can he join different games in these different tabs at the same time? Can he join the same game in different types multiple times? Can host join their own game at another tab? Do the simplest logic possible. If some checker or validation is not described explicitly in assignment, then you should not require it. By the way, this is a good point for improvement, so I may suggest you to create a pull request to Node.js assignments repository, and we can improve this task by explicitly describing these cases. This is a very good point. Thank you. But for now, if something is not required explicitly, please do not expect it to be implemented. What should we do if server has restarted in dev mode and has forgotten on clients, but the client still believes that he is logged in. It's not described in assignment, it should be handled somehow, and maybe this is a space for future improvement. So server can do whatever it likes to do. What about .env? The server checks this file, but the client always listens only to port 3000. It's okay that the client listens only on this port. This is only for server. Right click on tab, add tab to new split view. Okay, this is probably about how we could replicate players. Okay, good. If you'll have more questions, once again, you are first students of this new task, so there can be some inconsistencies. Please expect that and treat everything in favor of other students. Okay, good. Was glad to see you all. Sorry, it's time to go for me, and I think it's good that we have this session. Sorry for my voice and condition once again, and see you in 1 week. Bye bye.